Hi, I'm here and TFcon is closing around me, and I am joined by Aaron Archer.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I want to say it's nice to see you out and about after you're stepping away from all the Transformers stuff on the official level.
Yeah.
You've got a mighty beard.
I do.
How has life been treating you out in the freelance world?
It's been good. I've taken on a few projects here and there, helping out people, and using the knowledge I have. So that's great. But I've really focused on my own art and family for the last year, and been enjoying that.
And I expect there must be a real positive shift in terms of like the stress of being that high up the Hasbro chain.
Well, any serious job has a lot of stress, and minor jobs. They all have stress. I was in that scene for a long time, and I needed to just see what else I needed to do and wanted to do, and take a little break.
Yeah. Well, I caught your Q&A panel, and it was really cool to see some of your old Kenner stuff.
Yeah.
Because I remember back when you came on, that was a little bit of the talk of the net at the time. You know, Armada Megatron comes out, and we can spot kind of the Batman ears in there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned during your panel you saw that they are doing a new large remold that is Armada Megatron.
Yep.
And seeing that at BotCon this year, I thought, intentional or not, it seemed like a really nice nod towards you're about a year out from you stepping away from things.
Yeah. It's crazy to see characters that you worked on or I worked on that are coming back and being remade, and it's kind of cool. It tells me I've been around a long time. But I like the idea that those toys and characters might live on even longer, and that's as a creative person, that's really cool.
And you mentioned during the panel that with your freelance stuff, you are still in touch with Hasbro now and then, depending on the project. So I guess you're keeping track of what Transformers is up to a degree. To
a degree, I mean, I respect the guys. I'm friends with the guys that still work on it. Lenny Panzica lives about 4 houses from me.
It's his birthday on BotCon, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So we do our best not to really talk shop, because it's just not really appropriate, and we're friends, so we just talk about other stuff. So I don't really keep up too much on totally what's happening outside of some of the boards and things.
Yeah.
And that's natural. I mean, I was on that scene every day, all day, looking at the internet and talking to people, and what else could we do? And
the last thing you want
to do
is
nice to take a break.
Like go home and just start surfing TFW immediately. And
a little bit respectfully. I love the brand, and I always will, and I'm part of the fandom as well.
Yeah.
But I haven't stayed totally up to date. But the movie toys, I was around for the development of those.
Oh, so you were there for kind of the start of the Age of Extinction?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, one thing that a lot of us try to do is identify, like, when someone has stepped away, like, what's the last thing they left their mark on? Like, when we found out, Eric Siebenhaler, one of the last things he left his mark on was the first edition Viacon. And it was kind of cool to pick it up, just knowing that, like, all right, here's like the bookend on. Yeah,
mine. I would say the concept that I left with, albeit I wasn't a toy designer when I left, I was a leader of the team. The quick change Grimlock.
That was yours?
Yeah, it was. Well, all I did was come in and say, I want this. That's what I want. Make it. Figure it out. And Josh and the team and Takara certainly, figured out how to make that happen.
That's really cool. So of all those, the gesture-oriented Transformers that were coming out, that was one of the most eye-catching ones.
It's a big one, but we were really working on all that ways to do transformation in a different way.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't want to harangue you too much on Transformers, because that's probably what everyone has been asking you for the whole show. But oh man, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the independent end of toys as they are right now. We're in the wake of Boss Fight Studios' Vitruvian Hatch Kickstarter, clearing nearly $500,000.
Yeah, I think 490 or something.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Oh yeah,
that's enormous.
Absolutely. I'm getting my Medusa, so good on those guys. They worked really hard, and I've been pinging them and telling them what a great thing it is that they've been able to break the paradigm and really offer toys that they would want to make, purely, and there's fans out there for that stuff. So it's wonderful, that project for them.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a lot out of them, because I think that the independent toy scene right now it's in a real interesting state of flux.
Yeah.
You've got your artist-oriented toys. You've got the play-oriented ones like Matt Daddy's Glyos, for instance, or the RoboForce that John Kent is doing. And you've got Boss Fight basically really breaching a barrier and creating a mainstream-style articulated piece on this independent level. You mentioned in the last question you had in your Q&A where you see action figures going in 20 years. I really liked your answer of custom-made, made-to-order, collector-oriented. Do you feel that Vitruvian Hacks is like I mean, it's a 20-year out, but kind of a glimpse in that style?
Well, yeah. Well, I think the toys you'll see for children will be more digital, more interactive with digital, and there's still a market for collector toys, and will be for a while. And they just have to be made a different way. They may not be made by Mattel and Hasbro's and big companies in that same way. They'll be made by Kickstarter projects and independent little companies who now, with 3D modeling and efficient tooling, can do some amazing things that couldn't have been done 5-10 years ago.
Well, I mean, that's one thing I always remember is I've seen nearly every BotCon panel you've been on, and I always kept meticulous track, more so of the things that you and the guys would say at this time, 04 through whenever, this time we can't do. And seeing some of those we can't do's become we can do's has been really kind of a positive thing. Like, easy example, Metroplex. I remember way back when it was basically playsets are not doable right now. They were unfeasible.
And they worked really hard to not make that particular item a playset anyway. But
but that oriented kind of thing.
Some of the collector stuff, just the nature of the market, the big events like a Comic-Con, enable Hasbro to kind of take advantage in a different way. That also didn't exist a few years ago. You can get a couple bites at the apple, not just at one retail setup.
And this is a question I asked of someone at Mattel, and with your knowledge of the industry, do you feel that we have independent groups able to make use of crowdsourcing and basically connecting directly with connectors right down to the pre-production level? Do you think it's feasible for the larger companies like Hasbro and Mattel to engage in that kind of business, or is that not really something their process can work with?
They got shareholders and gotta really hit grand slams every time out, not just singles and doubles. A smaller scenario, a double would be awesome. A triple would be great. Hasbro, I know it would, that's not the goal. The goal is to really knock it out of the park. And so I think those companies will go bigger and mass, and the collector stuff will either maybe get licensed out, or there'll be a void where it gets picked up in different ways.
Well, speaking of licensing, that's something that licensing happens, but when it comes to toy licensing, like say if Mattel were to, an easy example, if Mattel were to license out an aspect of He-Man to another group, rather than developing in-house, but doing an action figure, licensing that to another group. Are shareholders currently the obstacle there, or because I don't see that happen very much?
Well, it's the whole idea. I mean, if you say you're the best at something, you're not going to let someone else do what you say you're the best at. No matter who it is or how good that item might be. So you're not going to see a toy company license out toys to another toy company. Unless it's something really extreme. I don't think so. I mean, there's too much at stake. The brands are too big to, get into that. Now you'll see boutique things like the Linkin Park, but that's through the team. That's not,
or art vinyl type things that kind of touch on the gray zone.
So, we don't know where it'll all go, but, there's definitely going to be a collector scene. There's definitely going to be a customizable scene. And there'll definitely be brands being shouted from the tops of every conglomerate. So
I always try to figure out the difference between this scenario and the scenario over in Japan, specifically with things like the Wonderfest license, the 3-day license to sell. For instance, Jizai Toys, easy example, creates a resin, Cyclonus gets a 3-day license to sell it, and I had a discussion with someone who we were trying to figure out if that's even feasible to happen over here.
I don't know if it is or not. I mean, anything can be figured out.
Of course,
it's really, is it worth it? Is it worth the legal worry?
And with the style of business in North America, shareholders, as you said, like it's a much different scene, I feel, than...
Well, you just don't a bigger company isn't going to want a lot of little independent touches or even small bites. You know?
Yeah.
They're going to want those grand slams.
And that, I guess, moves into what I would call like the final leg of this interview that I really wanted to do is, I mean, we're at TFcon,
Yep.
and there was a panel about this stuff right after your Q&A.
Yep.
The unofficial, unlicensed, the IP infringing independent companies,
Yep.
and the projects they pursue. That's a marketplace I have a lot of interest in, a lot of passion for. I like a lot of the people in it, and I really worry about its current kind of landlocked state. I know that on Tumblr you had a discussion with someone, and your end goal is kind of in line with my own end goal, which is I want to see these guys be able to produce what they want, even if it's not based on another brand. And do you feel like there's a market right now for them just to do a flip, or is there a path they can follow that would let this transformer-oriented buyer market follow them as well?
I don't know. It's tough for me to really get into too much of that because I don't really study too much of it. Because to me, no one else is making Batman toys. No one else is making Star Wars toys. So why is someone else making Transformer toys?
It's a unique situation, right? Like, I don't see this on this level.
Theft. I mean, it's unique that way, I guess.
Well, I mean, like the level of it, like the sheer dearth.
It's an amazing
stuff.
I mean, that's where I'll go. I mean, clearly talented people with resources and interest and passion, and a skill set to make a package, to make the engineering work, to get it manufactured and shipped. Those aren't easy things at all. So they're already they're doing it. They're miniature toy companies.
There are even there are even releases they're doing, which you take the color scheme away and change a head, they borderline look like an official or an original piece.
So my feeling about the whole thing is, make your own stuff. Make robots. Make transforming robots, but don't kid yourself into thinking that calling it City Commander somehow makes it okay to rip off Walter Magnus. It just doesn't work that way.
But with the market as it is, with these buyers who are basically pounding the table when it is so much as like that doesn't look like this is supposed to be, who's it supposed to be? Like Steel Core is an easy example. This basically original design. And the first reaction we get is it Ultra Magnus or is it supposed to be some other blue guy?
No, I think the fans would have to branch out and accept a different type of transforming robot.
Yeah.
And that might be tough for the fans who want, things that Hasbro just doesn't make or won't make in the format and scale that they hope they would get. But, it's a fine line. It's the brand's the brand, and I feel like if you value the brand you love, you're not gonna hang out with the girl that looks like her.
And you can't
doesn't make sense to me.
And you can't call out, the individual buyer and go like, no, broaden your horizons.
So it makes it tough. As a creative person, I wish they were able to have the sales and interest to make their own robots.
That's why I have a lot of hope for projects like Don Figueroa's Armor Marauders. Because I think that could make the bridge, Like we had a piece debut here, this enormous robot, gigantic robot, who has big scorpion gauntlets, removable, and in doing so, you paint him purple and green, and you can say he's Scorponok, but I look at it and I feel like I see a designer just desperately wanting to make something else, and just tweaking it to look like something that belongs to someone else so that people pay attention. And it's a state of market that I hope we can see change with more. We just need to have that original transforming robot indie thing happen, I think.
Yeah. So it's a tricky one.
Well, I hope you can we can keep seeing you at these shows.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I really value your input, especially on the independent side of things, as that, as you said, that may be where a lot of collector stuff is going to go in future.
It could, certainly in action figures. Because, kids today don't storytell with figures like we might have. So they need more. That's why Minecraft is so popular. Lego is so popular. It's endlessly changeable, reusable, forever. Some of the action figures, they stand there really nice, and that's going to go away. Except for people who want that, it will go away in the market, main marketplace. And so those guys are onto something with that Kickstarter.
I have really high hopes that that's the start of something great. Boss Fight Studios are paving the way. October Toys have been paving the way. Other companies too. I know that you can't probably talk about any of the freelance stuff you're doing as it would have been in the last year or so it's probably too new.
I'm working with some animation companies to, help them understand ways to approach toy companies with the stories, and I'm doing some of the same IP stuff I worked on with Hasbro, similar work with them now as a freelancer. Like I said, I'm keeping it pretty light and just enjoying time.
Well, I guess to finish things off, somewhere down the road, not like tomorrow, not even next year, but do you see yourself looking at something like Vitruvian Hacks, looking at something like Boss Fight Studios, and saying like, hey, I'd kind of like to put my fingers in that pool too?
Yeah, my main background is illustration and that kind of thing, so I'll probably do like a book more so than a toy. I got into toy in an odd way, and I think I was a good toy designer, and I learned what I needed to learn, but what I have passion about is imagery and illustration more so than 3D. I'll hopefully succeed in my project and work with some great people to make 3D out of it. And that's how I would view it. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for your time. As always, it's a pleasure to see you out at these shows. Pleasure to hear you answering questions.
It's my pleasure. The fans of Transformers, I always say it's the best fandom to be associated with. Very fair, very passionate, knowledgeable, smart people who've lived with it for a long, long time. And it's a great thing to come and talk to everybody.
On a selfish level, it's also a pleasure for me to finally have a nice lengthy conversation with the man behind Orson's World.
No problem. No problem.
That's something I think a lot of people who were there will never forget. And I hope we can keep hearing from you soon. You're on Tumblr. You're on.
I'm on Tumblr. I'm on Twitter. Got a DeviantArt page.
Archer Monster on Twitter, I believe.
Yep, Archer Monster most everywhere.
All right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you here, talking to you, perhaps with you here again. But thanks very much. I want to shake Orson's hand. Damn it.
No problem. We'll see you next year.
All right, take it easy.
All right.